Good morning, everybody. Who did the bra? Who did that? That was a nice frog sound. Who did that? That you, Sia, or was it you, Leanne? Bit of a frog sound from one of you. Nice. All right, well, they're both looking at me like I'm confused. Or like I'm the mad one. I'm not the mad one. You're the mad one. That's how it works. All right. We
Just
are here.
a little.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know what the song is that you play when someone's crazy, right? Do you know what the song is?
No.
Come on, of course you do. I'm going to play it for you and you'll know. Let me find it quickly. It's hilarious.
Knowles Barkley, crazy?
No, it goes like this. It goes...
Oh. What the circus is going on here?
You know that's the song for crazy people, right? That's how it goes. So Sia is in a bizarre place. That's why we haven't seen him in the last 2 days. He's been in a place. He'll explain it in a second, but let's just talk about the elephant in the room, which is that Leanne Mole looks like she's doing a seance with her ancestors. What's going on over there? And now she's frozen. Now she's frozen on the screen. It looks even more terrifying. It's like,
did we startle the demons?
Yeah. Ask, can you hear us?
Leanne, can you hear us? Hear us.
I don't have any candles to light here. How do you summon where she is?
Look at her eyes. She looks, because it's frozen at this moment where she's like she's just seen something really scary.
I'll take a screenshot of this just to send to her.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Anyway, while she's busy rebooting, which she says she's doing now, we will get on with our morning. So where are you, Sia? Because for the last 2 days, people have been very worried, including me. I thought you were having an existential crisis or a meltdown of some kind, and we needed to send people to help rescue you from like a cult or something.
If I was, with all due respect to anyone who's within earshot right now, Dundee is not the place to do so.
So you're in Dundee. That's in like northern KwaZulu-Natal, right?
Yeah. And it's about, I'd say, smack bang between Durban and Joburg. Because we often, it's like a 6-hour drive between Joburg and Durban. And you think, oh, it's so pleasant and it's so great because you don't have to stop anywhere.
Right.
Because you don't have to stop anywhere. Well, then when you actually stop there.
Everybody stops in Harrismith usually to fill their cars up and to get some lunch or whatever. That's traditionally the route. So that's what people do.
That's nice when you stop at a garage. Now it's having this whole...
You've had to actually go to this town, this Dundee place. So what happens in Dundee? I mean, give me the story.
My family's originally from here, and I've only been here as a kid, so I don't really have much, memory of this place. But now as an adult, and you're trying to work from here, and you're trying to, sort things out, because I'm helping out family, and you're now regarded as a young adult. So when something happens, you also need to be up and down. And you drive around. Oh, well, no, not ideal.
Responsibilities. This is terrible for you. So, all right, how long do you have to still be there? Or are you coming back tomorrow? What's your story?
Yeah, I'll be back on Sunday. And let me just say, it's good to see family, but also counting down the minutes. Just counting down the minutes. That's all.
We didn't hear from Sia on when was it, Wednesday morning, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, something terrible's happened to Sia," because it's rare. You're very responsible most of the time, and people are like, "If Sia's not there, there must be something terribly wrong." But let's go back to the seance at Leanne Mole's house.
Back to that situation.
There's some serious mood lighting going on there. exactly. So you couldn't hear us just now, but the screen froze at a moment where your eyes were like this, and it was like, oh, she's
not
obviously
the
seen,
best moment for you.
she's seen something in the Ouija board or whatever. I mean, you look like you're calling up the spirits of the dead. What's happening over there?
So as I turned on my study light this morning, it blew. You know, when you hear that little bing,
Yes.
it's gone. So I
Gave
have
up on you.
I have a little lamp, but it's providing some weird lighting, and I'm hoping that the sun rises at some point. I see the sky's looking a little grey, so let's see if I summoned up a cat. That's what happened.
Oh my God.
And it's a black cat.
She has her familiar with her.
I rebuke that spirit. Get away from me, Satan.
Oh my word. Yeah.
That is not ideal. Oh, but I have a bit of an...
She brings her wicked cat familiar with her, the witch.
I have a bit of an anecdote to share about this place, because it's not all bad. Given the fact that nothing really, in my opinion, has happened in the vast number of years. You know, my
since the dawn of time, Dundee.
Yes.
I mean, like, if you look up Dundee, I'm sure there's like a 3-line thing in Wikipedia. I don't think there's much more than that.
Nothing much.
You tell us the story, yes?
Pardon?
No, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up the official description while you tell us a story about the place. Dundee, the place you don't really want to go on holiday.
Well, the funny thing is, everyone now remembers the way my father's parents met all those years ago, because because of apartheid and, you know, different races, they could never, you know, my grandfather, my grandmother could never live together. So one lived on, you know, a few streets away, and the other lived on, you know, a couple of streets away, and they would always like somewhere meet each other there. And then my grandfather would have to just...
In Dundee? Was this where they met?
In Dundee. Yeah. So this is easily, gosh, it's my father's time. So 60 years ago, exactly, because my dad is actually 60 this year. And that is just how our family is known. So I'm like, can we change the legacy, please? I do not want to be known as, I don't know, the grandchild of the people who were stealing each other. Like, hey, let's meet at the tuck shop at the corner.
That's quite romantic.
The grandchild of forbidden love.
Yes.
But, you know, I mean, like, look at how much capital Trevor Noah has got out of his story. You should be doing that, man. You should be telling that story at every corner. You should be putting out a book called The Forbidden Love of My Grandparents, you know, the racial ties that bind. You could come up with some kind of brilliant book title. I mean, you should really be milking this for all it's worth. Because I'll tell you what, there are people on both sides of the political divide who would go, "Oh, what a moving story! It's so beautiful. Look at this. This is what we've been talking about for all of our lives. That everybody just should get along and love each other." I'm telling you, do it.
I wish it had that coolness, but it really does not. All that means is, think about as well drama that you have within your family, and then multiply it by 3. Because then there's my grandfather's side, there's my grandmother's side, and then there's the people in the middle. It's just too much. No, thank you.
I just think it's cool. You can call up on both sides of the ancestral tree, and like you can claim whatever heritage you want. You go crazy. I mean, like you can go.
You
mad.
make it sound like I'm going to perform a seance now. I can call up ancestors.
Well, maybe Leanne can help us this morning. She can actually be the intermediary. Like you can call up like good old traditional Zulu ancestors, you know. And you can, you know, the Amadlozi.
Yeah, I'm looking for some bones to throw.
You could become a sangoma if you wanted to, if there was a calling, but there obviously isn't.
Lord.
And then you can call up like you can call up those original English settlers, the Finn side of things, and you could claim that as part of your history. I mean, this is all yours. It's, you know, it's part of who you are. And then through your mother's side, you can claim a whole bunch of other stuff too, which is pretty damn cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how far are we from where the new Zulu prince is, 'cause I could do a bit of a pit stop there on my way back to Joburg. Like, hey.
So I'm looking at a map of KwaZulu-Natal, and Dundee is like it's not even in the top northwestern corner, but it's somewhere there. It's closer to Maritzburg than it is to Harrismith, I suppose. That's fair to say. Or it's maybe equidistant between the two. Anyway, so here's what you need to know about the town of Dundee. Okay.
Okay.
More populous than the town of Dundee is the adjacent township called Sibongile. The township is now being extended.
Sibongile.
Yeah, and there's a place called Lindelani as well. There are more people who live in Sibongile than there are people who live in Dundee. And it is in a valley in the Biggersberg Mountains. That's what they call those mountains around you. See here? It was established by a guy called Peter Smith with land contributed by his son-in-law in 1882 after a realization that the valley was a natural way for travelers to enter the interior of Africa. So once it used to be like a trading and a fueling port along the way between the coast and the interior. How's that? That's about the most exciting. That's about the most exciting thing I can find about it. So I'm not going to bullshit you. There's not a whole lot more.
Okay, then I'm glad the love affair of Anne Sarah Sangweni and Robert Finn was just not there.
Beautiful, man. But
But
that's so
it's
beautiful.
you know,
Make a thing of it. Sia, get your
okay.
dad to write those stories down, and like you're gonna one day. I know you don't care about it now, but one day, and especially if you do decide one day that you do want to have kids, it might happen. You never know. Then you're going to want to have these stories. I mean, maybe one of your sisters is going to want these stories for their children, and you're going to wish you'd got them. I don't want to sound like one of those old people who's always giving advice, but the last thing, no, the worst part about not having any of my grandparents around anymore. And I often say, oh, thank God those old codgers died when they did, because I hate old people and they stink and I don't want them around. Because I think they did me a favor by leaving early. But the one thing I really wish is that I'd had them around to talk some more about the kind of life that they'd had. That I'd been able to ask my mom's dad more about what he did during the war. And if I'd been able to ask both of my grandmothers more about the kinds of lives they had as little girls. And, that stuff is fascinating. And if you don't get it, and thank God now, like we've got podcasting and we've got YouTube, and you can put these things on the internet forever. And in 5 generations' time, someone can look it up and go, oh, wow, what a blessing it was to have had Sia in the family, because he documented all of this stuff for us. Someone's going to wake up one day and be interested, even if it isn't you.
I worry about that, because we had paper and ink back in the day, and stories were still lost. And are we going to move on from the internet?
But most of us couldn't write in those days. Remember, it was maybe 5% of the population could read and write for much of human history. Really, it's like only the priests and the very top of the pile were the ones who could write and read. And in many
and this was how many years ago?
Only 150 years ago. I mean,
wow, we've come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I always say to people. That's why I say to people, don't think that the main way we learn, when they use books as a symbol for learning, most education is symbolized by the book. It's not actually the way that we learn. Human beings are much more conditioned to learn by listening. That's how most of us learn all the important stuff in life. We learn words, and then we learn to interpret the language of our parents, and we learn to interpret the language of people around us by hearing. That's why radio and podcasting and all of those things are so special and magical. And if you can record that stuff, which we can do now, there's no way to record. I found a recording of my great grandmother when she did a radio interview back in like 20 something. My great grandmother, to hear her voice is one of the freakiest things, because obviously I didn't know her. She died before I was born. And then I heard on one of those, those old cameras that they used to record shit on with the actual tape in them, and very old 8mm cameras. So my grandfathers were both big into that stuff. They just loved to record. I mean, they didn't make many movies, but they were family movies. So you see like the family having a braai, or you see the weddings or whatever it might
Your
have been.
grandfathers then would have loved Instagram and iMovie.
Definitely. I mean, in some
Just
way
go
they
to
were-
their
they were-
grave and say, "Hey,
Sure.
Grandpa."
They were primed for that stuff. And when I watched one of them with my mom, probably this is maybe about 15 years ago, because I haven't had any reason to look at it again. But my grandfather and my grandmother's voice were both in the movies. So there's a recording of both
Wow.
of them. And it was just the strangest thing to hear, because again, that grandmother of mine died when I must have been 10 or 11. So I hadn't heard her voice in years, and it was weird, man. I mean, it was like, she had this accent that sounded almost like, well, I mean, clearly it was, that she was from a different time. So they spoke differently. Just believe me, when people are alive and you don't ask them these questions, you will regret it when they're not around anymore. I know it sounds like
Yeah.
the kind of, nobody wants to hear that, because it sounds, oh God, shut up. What do you know? Someone's going to care, and then you're going to wish you documented this stuff.
I hear
Do it.
you.
I mean, Basitsana agrees. Basitsana says, jot down the stories, Sia, as per Gareth's suggestion, but not necessarily for the masses to consume. Everyone should go to the Origins Center at Wits. It's a fascinating experience. Yeah, I love the
I
Origins.
still have heard so much about it, and I haven't gone. Yeah, I should.
See, Cindy Sue says, I'm an audiologist. I agree. There you go. It's not just me. Peter says, I was lucky enough to know all my grandparents and spoke to them and listened to their stories and reminiscences. Priceless now. Right, Peter. Eleutheria says, yes, when my dad was dying, he finally told me all the stories about his parents meeting during World War II and then their life in the army. Cool.
Wow.
I agree, Gareth. We mostly know about a doff celebrity. We know more about that than we do about our own families and our own genealogy. That's correct. Bichleng is getting to the point, though. He says, how boring. Are there any rich men for you in Dundee here? That is all population size.
If it's someone who owns OK Furnitures, then I don't know. Sorry, no. I hate to be elitist. I'm just...
No.
I drove past that and I thought, wait, there are still OKs in the world? I didn't know this. Okay. Sorry, we love OK.
Is that
I'm very surprised to hear that.
That's the biggest store in Dundee? Is OK?
I don't know. I just saw it. When was it? 2 days ago.
Does it say OK Bazaars? Because it used to bazaar.
No. It was actually OK. OK Grocery or OK Grocers. But now they sell food. Okay, so they're diversifying. Coming back to 20.
Now that I think of it, it's such a weird brand name, like OK Grocers or OK Furniture.
Yeah, it's
not like the best. It's okay.
No, yeah, it's great. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. So we had Damon on Wednesday morning, and as usual, he got me into a subject that I wasn't really in a hurry to discuss. So he got me talking about Israel and Palestine, because there's all kinds of shit brewing.
Oh my word! It's so sad, really.
It's very well. It's all. I mean, it's very messy, the whole thing, obviously, and nobody wants to see any loss of life whatsoever. It's just an appalling thing to see. But these things are inevitable when what you've got there is just the formula for a disaster. And I don't know if it's ever going to be sorted out. Most of the people I speak to, it's like, oh, Groundhog Day. That place is never going to change. There's always going to be conflict. Doesn't mean we shouldn't care, but of course, it's become harder and harder to care about it, because it's just such a messy place, Such a messy place. All right, so lots of things to get to this morning. We found out about the amazing town of Dundee. I don't want to go on about that for too long, but because there's nothing else to say, really. I see that OJ Simpson is on Twitter, and Sia's been following him. You're following him again?
I am.
Hi.
I tried. Yes, I tried to get away from it, but I
Yeah.
got sucked in again. Please do, just for your own humor and entertainment in the world. What is it? At
right.
the real OJ 32, I think it is.
But he started
And
on
he's
some
still-
other social media platform not so long ago. And he was posting videos. Do you remember?
No.
It
No.
could possibly have been, well, Twitter, he still does post a lot of videos, but I'm
Mhm.
thinking, what is that service where you can pay a celebrity to give you a message?
Oh, Cameo.
Oh,
It's called Cameo.
Yeah, maybe like one of those. Are you not referring to that, Leanne?
could be.
That's so sad. I mean, these famous celebrities, you could pay them like, a couple of $100 or whatever it is, and then, hi, this is OJ. I just want to say a happy birthday to Leanne Mole. Ho, ho, ho. If I had done it, I would have done it with a knife like this.
Oh, no. I don't even want to hear my
mean-
name come out of that man's mouth.
For shits
Yeah.
and giggles, it would be a cool birthday present.
Hey, this OJ. I don't
Yeah.
kill people. I say happy birthday.
Like, spoiler alert, but Leanne, for your birthday coming up, we got Bill Cosby to record your message.
Aha.
Oh, no.
You need to spoil it for her.
Damn it, sorry, I just can't keep my mouth shut.
I just want to say happy birthday to Leanne Mole.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what you
We,
got.
s- we could only send him like an A3 poster of you to prison, and he's
He's very
really
excited.
grateful. Yes.
Now everyone comes
That
to
is
his
so
prison.
sad.
Now all the other men come to his prison cell and stand outside the bars, play with themselves. It's very exciting.
Oh, no. Oh.
Yes. Oh, yes. Lucky you. Look at
I actually
look
need
at
to
how
find out. I need to find out if there's any Bill Cosby updates. We haven't heard much from him.
who cares?
Is his
I
wife
know
answering his call yet? I don't think
No.
she's been to visit him.
who knows? But that guy, I've just like totally lost interest in him. It's like Harvey Weinstein. I mean, they're both pretty much close to death anyway, aren't they?
Well, Bill, the last time I checked, was occasionally tweeting from prison.
Really?
And
He's
by
allowed to
that-
tweet in prison?
By that, I just think he was calling someone up, dictating something, and they would tweet out for him. So he still sees himself in this vein of, I'm a leader of my time. I helped my people.
Yeah.
I am, what is it,
I
Dr.
told
Huxtable?
I told the black boys in my neighborhood not to wear pants that fall down below the crack of your ass.
Ah,
Here's a picture of OJ. Have a look at this. Hey,
look at that stunning
Hi.
man.
I'm OJ Simpson. I did
Mm.
not murder anybody, but if I did, I would use a knife. Great. What a great guy. What
He's a
fucking
gorgeous
fantastic
man as well.
Mm.
That's
Anyway,
a good
you think he-
73. I always bring up age.
Yeah.
That's a good 73.
Yeah, but you see, black don't crack. He's got that advantage.
Has a
Mhm.
good jaw, still strong and chiseled.
Let's not forget he was a football player. And
Yeah, I can't
pretty
talk about how good he looks, not after what we know about him.
Leanne, you have to be
No.
able to separate these things. Look, he still has his hairline.
Now, where did I put my knife?
Oh, no.
Find my knife. Okay, so here's someone embarrassing. You want to see what's embarrassing on the internet now? Is Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York.
Mhm.
Look at this. What a mess she's turned into.
Oh,
fuck's
what
going
the
on?
hell is she doing there?
Oh.
What is she holding?
The fuck is that? She's got
They look
two
like-
cucumbers.
What?
Got
They're
two cucumbers
fashioned
there that
into
are-
ducks.
They look like they look like they're meant to be birds, duck maybe. You're right. It's ducks. And then she's got flowers around her head.
And
Oh,
But,
my
okay, so
Lord.
So she does this thing. I told you about this because I did it last year. But she does this story time with children. But I think she's losing her mind. I mean, why does she have to look like
Oh.
that? Why does she have to be so? I mean, what's going on there?
she's
I
wearing
w-
a headband of purple flowers. I don't.
Mhm.
There is so much going on in there.
I
including
don't know where to
toadstools
begin.
and faux grass.
Yeah, then what's in the background?
Looks like a big flower, but it could be a shower head. Who knows?
I want
Hello.
to say
I'm so excited to tell you stories while my ex-husband Andrew occasionally walks around in the background and molests some child.
no.
Oh God.
Yes, that's what a weird household that is.
I want to share my original thought as soon as I saw that photo, but also don't want to bring in the crass so early in the morning.
Go on, tell me.
But
Say it.
it looked like she was selling organic dildos there.
Yeah, it does look
Well-
exactly.
Okay, so this is weird. I mean, you know how we always talk about whether or not you can get along with your exes.
Mm.
Mm.
So I've got to say, like whether you like Prince Andrew or you like Sarah Ferguson or not, the two of them are like really supportive of each other. Like she has been out there supporting and defending him against everyone, and they live together even though they've been separated and divorced. So they live together, and I suppose for the girls it's nice. You know, they've got those daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, and they visit their parents, and their parents, even though they're not like living together, they're not in the same bedroom kind of thing. They're not married as a couple anymore. There's certainly no love, like the romantic love between the two of them, but they're supporting each other. So in terms of getting along with your ex, maybe they're an interesting illustration of what can happen, because they were married, then they were very publicly separated. Then Fergie went off and had her toes sucked by some millionaire American, remember?
Yes.
Andrew had like an affair with some woman as well. And obviously he's had all the controversies with Epstein since then, but she's supported him every step of the way. She's like, that's not true. She defends him from anyone who wants to hear it. There's something that I kind of respect about that, you know?
I don't know. For me, when a relationship is over, it's over. I don't want to see that person, hear from them. I don't want to know anything about them. So I don't understand how people do that. It's not within my realm of understanding.
Well, I think I was one of 6 people who actually watched the Duchess of York's reality show back in 2011. And it was really sad. It was called Finding Sarah. And she was trying to lead, a normal life, and she was discovering herself in the world again. And part of what she admitted over the course of the show is that some of it had to do with finances, the fact that she didn't have a lot of money, and the fact that Prince Andrew welcomed her back with arms. They do get along in all of those things, but it was also nice and convenient for them.
Well, people will settle for that kind of thing. I don't know. I just think whatever their arrangement is, it's better that they're together and than apart, because they probably need each other more than ever now, right? Anyway, just thought it was interesting.
I actually want to rewatch that show as comfort viewing, just because of one. Here's one memory of the show. So you can tell that they're clearly trying to get content. They're trying to shoot things. They're trying to make a show. But Lady Sarah doesn't really have a lot going on for her. So they signed her up with a personal trainer. So you'll see her jog. And then they got a nutritionist for her. So she was, trying to get fit. Then they're like, one particular day, actually, no, you should go shopping. Make an event out of that. Go shopping, go to these great boutiques. And the whole way through, all she was saying is, wow, I wish I could have this, but I can't afford it.
Oh, my word.
It's the most. Who the hell would want to watch that stupid show? All right. So
they tried it.
That royal family will make you batshit crazy. So I've got one of our family friends. He says to me that the worst thing you can do to him is this.
Where you rub your fingers together like in the symbol of money.
He says it's so crass. He says it's so revolting, and this what made me think of it now is Sarah Ferguson going, "Well, I'd love to have that, but no money." So he goes insane if you do this to him. He just hates. He says even the sound of it is just horrible. So he said he went to a lunch, and he said, to his friend, "Thank you so much. What a wonderful lunch." And this friend of his, she went, "Well, I was going to get fillet, but horrible. Please don't. If you can't afford something, don't go around telling people like Sarah Ferguson. Just go, yeah, just smile. Yeah. Most of us can't afford everything that we want. Most of us, right? Don't go when you
Good
talk.
point.
Well, it's the face you make with the finger rubbing.
No,
A nice face. It's a horrible thing to do. Like,
it is.
and she was pretty
We
much
all,
doing this the whole way through her shows. Yeah, I mean, just
yes.
say it again the way she would say it.
Not just. I will actually find a clip of it because I'm not
Just-
making this up. She'll
do
go
it
and
again.
she'll fit a coat on and she'll fit a hat on and just go, my. This is delightful. Oh, but I
Yeah.
so wish I could afford it. I can't afford this.
Did she ever look at the camera and go,
No, that would have brought her back for a second season.
So,
But
because-
nah.
because we're a podcast and there are going to be people who are annoyed that they can't see what I was doing, let me just describe it. So you put your thumb and your index finger and your ring finger, your middle finger together, and you rub them together, like, you know how someone,
as if you're fondling cash.
as if you
like-
got cash
Yes.
in your hand. Yeah, it's such a horrible. It's just the grossest hand signal. Ugh. Anyway,
We all
right,
have
listen.
our little tricks then.
Yeah, we do. I mean, like he gets annoyed by it way more than me, but he hates it when you do that, especially in
It's
conversation.
too funny.
All right, so I brought up Damon and how this Israeli-Palestine thing was causing just so much shit because now, you know, I've said how I interpret the situation, which I'm entitled to do, and I'm getting messages from people saying, thank you so much, Gareth, for supporting Israel, and then I'm getting messages from people saying, you pig dog piece of shit, die in a fire, you know, that kind of shit. So it just shows you this. Everyone's totally sane about this. Totally sane. And let me
Didn't we
remind all
almost
of
have
you,
protesters at the studio a few years ago?
well, there was a protest yesterday. I think it was in Pretoria or in Johannesburg against Israel. But yes, I mean, listen, you can't have an opinion on this because the minute you have an opinion, one side will regard you as being a pariah. So don't expect me to be talking about it too much. It's just too horrible. I got this message from someone like, "Ass donkey. I hope you get fucked by. I hope you get fucked by a rhinoceros or something like that." I mean, I can't. Yeah, just like really, just terrible. So let's get to the five
Gosh.
things this week. Okay, Musbenzi Zwane was in front of the Zondo Commission, and he said they were abusing his generosity by making him answer the same questions over and over. So he would not return, even if he was asked to.
Oh
Must
my
have been-
word!
What are we wasting your time, fuckface?
How
What is it
trivial.
how busy are you the rest of the time? Who's calling you up for jobs and to hire you? Now that the Guptas are gone, no one will hire you. You better just go to the Zondo Commission. It's the only thing you can do at the moment. Musbenzi Zwane. Anyway, no money either.
Insert money fingers.
He's probably spent all the money that the Guptas gave him anyway. Realizing that he was running out of time again, Deputy Chief Justice Zondo was contemplating inviting him again. He'd been testifying about the Estina dairy farm and his trips to India, which were allegedly paid for by the Guptas. You know what's amazing about people like Zwane, right? He's so bad at everything. He's such an underperforming, underachieving loser that even when he's lying, he's bad at it. Like if you watched the Zondo Commission, and I caught maybe 5 minutes of it yesterday, and I threw my hands up and I was like, this is so bad. It's like he can't even act. And listen, acting is even morons can act. That's why in Hollywood they're always going on about giving each other awards because they have to. They have to convince themselves that what they're doing is meaningful and has a purpose. You're acting. Any human being can act. Human beings act in relationships all the time. No, everything's fine. He can't even do that properly, this loser. He's the biggest turd in the whole ANC's organizational hierarchy. He's the biggest hot poo of anyone that ever existed. He's useless at everything he does. Musbenzi Zwane, you are a great and grave and terrific embarrassment to all South Africans. I'm embarrassed to live in the same country as someone as stupid as him. Anyway, South Africa has been mulling legislation to take legal action against WhatsApp over their plans to share user data with Facebook. This is amazing. So this is our information regulator. Okay, the tech giant, that's the WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram monster, right?
Conglomerate.
That Mark Zuckerberg owns. They told WhatsApp users earlier this year that they had to consent to a new data use policy following their decision to share more private information with the parent company Facebook for advertising and e-commerce. Of course, we all just signed it because we don't want to stop using WhatsApp. But South Africa's regulator, who's going to step into the fray? Someone like Mosebenzi Zwane, right? This is like David and Goliath, except that David doesn't even have a stone. So South Africa's regulator steps in and goes, "We don't believe that this new privacy policy is in keeping with our laws as a country." So in a statement on Thursday, the South African regulator said it has so far received no agreement from WhatsApp because WhatsApp don't care about South Africa's regulator. And what force do they have to make anything happen? Our regulator is about as powerless as my dog against a combine harvester. That's what it is. And I'm afraid for the regulator, whoever the hell that is, and whoever's in the regulator, that is why no one can take you seriously. I mean, why should WhatsApp reply to a bunch of bureaucrats in South Africa? They don't care. They're going to ignore us. What do you think? Everyone in South Africa is going to side with the regulator and stop using WhatsApp? Good luck.
Yeah.
All right. So the United States has blocked an urgent UN Security Council meeting originally set for Friday on the new flare-up between Israel and the Palestinians. Diplomats have said there will be no Security Council meeting tomorrow, said a spokesperson for the UN delegation of China, which currently presides over the council. The United States did not agree with a video conference tomorrow. Another diplomat said that the US wants the meeting put off until Tuesday, which would determine the sense that it is of an urgent nature. Meetings like this via video conference require the support of all 15 members of the council. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't believe that the United Nations is much more of a force for good in the world than it was originally intended to be. I think it's probably slid backwards. It's got less teeth than ever before. The UN has been made a mockery of by the US, by China, by Russia, pretty much by all the members of the Security Council. It is a joke. It is a walking, talking, expensive joke. And I don't understand why the United States of America even bothers to put on this pantomime with the UN anymore. They should chase them out of New York. And it doesn't do anything. It just costs every country that's a member money, and disproportionately so, I might add. It's not as if we pay as much as France or Ghana pays as much as America. So if you don't pay for these things, you shouldn't be able to get an outweighed, or let me just use the right word, an imbalanced sense of superiority or importance in the world. Nobody cares what Guinea-Bissau has to say. What are we pretending that we care about that shit for? Guinea-Bissau. We care what China says when it talks about human rights. China, who are actively involved in genocide in the east of their country, in the west of their country at the moment, where the Uyghurs live. Do we want to hear from China on this? Do we? And don't give me that false equivalence that every nation has got blood on its hands and that they all have equal amounts of blood on their hands. It's not true. Some countries have much more blood on their hands than others. And that goes for the Israeli-Palestine conflict as well. Finally, the Friends cast. Are you ready?
What's up? What is another reunion?
They're planning.
Yes.
Their reunion is coming out on the 27th of May. And this is very exciting. Yes, the one where they get back together is what they're calling this episode. It's finally upon us. The cast of Friends will be joined by famous fans from Justin Bieber to David Beckham. Yes. So the long-delayed and much-hyped reunion, billed as an unscripted celebration of the US smash hit television sitcom, will debut 27 May, the streaming platform said in a statement. That's on HBO Max. A brief trailer for Friends, the reunion, showed the 6 cast members walking slowly away from the camera with their arms linked together while the iconic I'll Be There For You theme song plays gently in the background. I'm all for nostalgia, but I'm not going to put it in my diary to watch.
Is it just a one-off thing? Or is it going to be like a show?
No, it seems like it's a one-off.
Okay. As opposed to it's not being rebooted, just that one episode.
No, it's just the one because it's too expensive. Remember, they were the most well-paid cast in television history at one point. So that's an interesting. Funnily enough, I'm having a friends reunion today. This evening at my there are about 15 people coming to my house today. These are people who I haven't seen in some cases for a couple of years now. So two of my friends are flying in from America. Well, they're already here. It's not for any specific reason. We all just happen to be in the same place at the same time. Another one is coming up from the south coast of KZN. Another one's from Cape Town, and everybody's just coming this evening. It's going to be so much fun, and I'm really.
Why
excited.
is everyone rushing to Joburg all of a sudden from all over the world or the country?
Well, so one of them, his stepdad died of corona, so he had to come back and sort that
word. Yeah.
Another one visiting her friends, and another one, it was her birthday this week, so it'll be nice. It's going to be a proper friends reunion for us, and I'm excited as all hell about that. But I've got to spend most of the afternoon today getting ready for all of this. I mean, 15 people is a lot of people. It's the most I've had at my house since, pre-corona.
Gosh.
That's quite a lot of people.
You play the song for all time's sake?
No, we would not play the song.
As everyone arrives.
It's gonna be
But
this way.
I didn't know that Justin Bieber and David Beckham were such big Friends fans. Who knew?
You know what?
I think you can
television
be a
was
fan
quite
for a big.
Television was quite limited in those days. I mean,
that's true too.
When the 8:00 show was the thing that we watched, Yeah.
So Monica says Friends is so boring.
I think you can be a Friends fan for a great salary. So I think they'll say anything they want to say.
Yeah.
I think they just needed like celebrities to come in and boost the appearance.
So Sean says yesterday's burning platform was extra hot. Yes, it was. I'm just finishing up this podcast and I can't get enough. So we had this guy on who he's an old trade unionist, but he talks like someone from the 1960s. I mean, you could see he's basically, if you want to listen to yesterday's burning platform, and I suggest you do, if you either because you care about trade unions and you're interested in the state of them, because it was one long obituary for trade unions. It was one long wailing cry with the smallest violin in the world about like, oh, Kasatu's falling apart. Wee, ree. That's what it was basically, but it was lots of fun. And you could see he's a dyed-in-the-wool, old school trade union communist dude. And you see, this proves, again, I have to keep reiterating this because people don't believe me. And then when I show them the evidence, they're like, oh, but cognitive dissonance creeps in. We don't mind having anybody on this show. I mean, there is no way I agree with anything that he had to say yesterday. Anything. Not a word. But it was great having him on. And you can have people on that you disagree with. In fact, it's the only way you learn things. And we did learn things from him. He was fascinating because he told us about all his friends in the trade unions who are now billionaires. And he's not.
Jeez.
He hasn't sold out. In his mind, he's the winner because he hasn't sold out. In their minds, they're like, fuck you and your principles. We got billions of dollars. So it's interesting, because he was good. He was bosom buddies with like Cyril and Marcel Golding, all of those, Johnny Coplin, all those guys who were in the trade unions. And they're all now super rich. And he's out in the cold. He's like, still fighting for the workers. But the only problem is the workers don't really care. It's very, very interesting. Go and listen to it. You'll laugh. And the funniest thing is, like, towards the end of the burning platform, I'm busy summing up as I do at the end of the show. And he's like, no, Gareth, don't exploit me for the purposes of your program. I'm like, I was about to plug your book, dude. And he's like, don't exploit me. But I was trying to be polite, so I wasn't going to chase him away because he was good value and we want to have him back.
Well, I think you were also Cliff. That is the thing. You were not Gareth. You were Cliff.
You kept calling me Cliff, but I don't mind that. I mean, that's okay. I make an effort to say people's names and to pronounce them properly. But some people don't.
I don't know how people get to that conclusion. Or was it like Cliff Central and that thing? And
they don't care. It's fine. It's really not about me. I don't mind that at all. So Marcel wants to know, when are you having the guys from Troy Gold on to talk about the new gold card that they launched? Ooh, let me show you. So I actually saw Dane. Yeah.
Show and tell.
Yeah. So Dane from Troy Gold came to visit me at the office yesterday, and he brought me one.
It was an old man noise. Ooh, look at
What?
that.
Wait. Why is it? Oh no, your background thingy is playing up to the card. That's why it looks so trippy.
Why? So yeah, it looks like bricks. So I don't know.
Yeah,
what's
it looks
going on.
like, yes.
No.
Yeah, but that's what it looks
What?
like. It's old.
You have
So
your
anyway-
green screen on, Gareth.
No, I don't. Don't talk nonsense.
Yes,
There, Troy
that's
Gold.
why you have.
Do I have a green screen on? Hang on, let me see if I can.
Yes.
Do I?
Okay, go to cabin mic settings,
Oh,
green
look at that.
screen,
Let me try this. Hang on, here we are.
and then
All
none.
right, so
Yeah.
there it is. So that's
There
the Troy
it
Gold.
is.
Oh, there we go.
So he brought this to me yesterday. So if you have, I'm going to give them a plug because I like these guys and they're really fucking cool and what they're doing is awesome. So instead of paying in rands, you could pay in gold, and the gold price actually went up yesterday. So that's good news. But
But
there-
you've
it's
got
got
to
a little
have
chip-
gold to pay with it.
got a little chip like all the cards. Yeah, but you have
Yeah.
to. So what you do is you take some of your rands, you get the Troy Gold app, you turn it into gold, and now you can order a card from them, and you can actually pay with the card at restaurants, shops, whatever, because it works with any credit card machine. And you can pay in gold rather than in rands. So if the rand starts to tank really badly, then you still have a kind of rand hedge.
Okay.
Brilliant.
That's
Yeah.
very
So-
clever.
Glad you brought that up, Marcel. Thank you. And yeah, well done to Bastiat and to Dane, who we've had on the show before. You see, this is what I love about the people that we've met, our clients and customers. Yesterday we had Sean Sanders on. It's like they're such smart people. They really are thinking in extraordinary ways of making the world a better place and a more interesting place and a place that serves all of us much more optimally. And I love that. We've got really smart clients. They're not just people who are giving us their money so that we can keep running. They're actually adding value to the world. I just love it. So well done for that one, Marcel. Thanks for bringing it up so that I could give them a plug. Okay. So many other things to get to. Let me just quickly give you a forecast of what's still to come. We're going to have Toby Shapshak on. Now, Toby's been trying to call me, and I feel so bad because for the last 3 or 4 weeks, every time he's called me, I've been in a meeting or in a recording or something. So I think he probably thinks I'm ignoring him. So we're going to have him in, which is great. We'll talk about his show, which is called Stuff on eNCA. And that's a great show because everything Toby does in that respect is excellent. We're also going to speak to George Meany later on. And we're going to have Phil. Is Phil on today from
Not
David
today.
Motors?
He'll be on
okay.
next.
I thought he was. Okay. All right. So Phil will join us next week as well. But there we go. So lots to get to today. And we'll talk to Toby Shapshak in the next hour and plenty more. And if you're wondering what's going on, Leanne Mole has come out of her seance because the sun has risen. And now she's no longer in the dark in her house.
Yeah,
It's
I've still got weird lighting going on. Still weird lighting. But
Before we wrap up this hour, I just want to show you one or two quick things. First of all, here is a woman who was on the TV news last night, and I recorded her because she has a funny little squeaky voice. Just look at this, okay? You ready?
Yeah. Okay.
From me.
Die Sisonke-program het nou sy definisie van 'n gesondheidswerker verbreed.
The Sisonke Phase 3B study is
That woman's voice. Did you hear her voice?
Is that real? Is that real?
So there's the journalist. Ignore the journalist at the beginning and listen to the woman who comes in as the guest. Are you ready?
Die Sisonke-program het nou sy definisie van 'n gesondheidswerker verbreed.
the Sisonke Phase 3B study is has in it.
She's Professor Linda.
No.
Linda Becker.
Gareth, please.
And then this is
She's
for
a
Sia,
very
all right?
serious person. Okay.
Very serious. And then Sia, this is especially for you. People send each other really funny shit on the internet. I thought you'd enjoy this, Sia. This is I don't know who this is. I meant to know. It's maybe some kind of fashion mogul or something, or maybe it's just a funny person on TikTok, or I don't know who this is. But they have like shaved hair on the sides. I think they're of Chinese or Korean extraction. They're wearing big glasses. I'm not sure I know who this is, but listen to the interview. This is really interesting. All right, you ready?
If you could change one thing about your physical appearance, what would it be?
Not having such a big dick. It's really troublesome. Sometimes people just, it's his big dick, you know. I'm not, I just want people to love me for who I am, not just my dick.
Looks like Marilyn Manson.
Yes.
And what is the one thing you would like to say about your physical, your body? Oh no, it's just my big dick. I wish people
love me for who I am.
So there we go.
What a
Bit of
creep.
modesty. You think it's a creep?
Is...
I think it's very honest, Leanne. I mean, come on. What's wrong with you?
No, come on.
I don't know if I even believe it now.
No, exactly.
I found a boyfriend for either of you, whoever wants him. Here he is. Look at this. Also from, I was very young when these lumps started to appear on my face. There's this dude he's covered in like lumps on his face. You don't like him? Neither of you jumped to it.
I watch a lot of YouTube.
You don't
It's
like
a
him?
TLC show. What is it?
There's Born Different.
Yes.
Oh, that is Born Different. Oh,
Yes.
Someone sent this to me and I thought, there's an interesting guy for Leanne or for Sia, whoever wants him first.
listen,
Leanne,
if
I'm
he's
sure
a nice
you always
guy.
say that. I was going to say you care about what's on the inside, right?
You say that like it's an unusual thing.
No, at least I fess up. I
I do
see.
not.
If you really cared about what's on the inside, you wouldn't have judged OJ. But no, you judge him. Look at
I'm
what's
judging
on
him
the
because
outside
of what's on the
OJ.
inside.
Oh, damn it. Never
I'm
mind.
just a friendly neighborhood football player. And they called me OJ because it's the same as orange juice. I don't murder people. That ain't what I do no more. No more. But I might if you piss me off.
So he always starts like minimum. He records like a 90-second bordering on 2-minute video on Twitter. He doesn't tweet often, but he just records videos of himself. And he'll always go, "Hey, Twitter world." And then he'll get into his monologue of the day.
Oh, no.
It's always him on the golf course. It's always him running or jogging. He's living his best life right now.
Get some feedback from Andre, who I'm seriously considering banning from the show. He's
What did he
definitely
say?
the most irritating. He gets the crown. In fact, Andre, I'm going to give you an award for most annoying listener of the Gareth Cliff Show, and I might even send you like a I don't know, crown of thorns or something. So he says, Gareth, I can only imagine Andre sounds like this. The backdrop on your TV show is awfully fake. A non-working clock and out of proportion books. It looks very bad. All right, so Andre, I don't give a shit, first of all. Thanks for the feedback, but who cares? I got an email the other day from some woman. She's like, Dear Gareth, this is important feedback about your TV show. The clock on the shelf behind you doesn't work. And the time is wrong. So I said to her, I replied, I mean, obviously I take these things very seriously. So I replied to her and said, it's a still photograph, but it's my actual bookshelf. Look here. I'm not making it up. This is my actual study. That's the actual background. Look. No screen, you understand?
Oh, gosh.
And I had to take that picture myself because this is not a high budget TV show. It is what it is. So I just took a picture and then I sent it to eNCA, and that's what they put on in the background. They could put the background of the Grand with strippers on poles behind me and I could give a shit.
Or a hippopotamus pit.
Oh.
Put the Joburg Zoo behind me. I don't care what's going on behind me on the show. I haven't even the slightest inclination to change it. If you guys are full of ideas, why don't you become producers in television and come and join our team, and I'll pay you some money to sort it out. R5.55 is the going fee. If you're interested, then email sia@cliffcentral.com. All right? Thank you, Andre. I think we've dealt with that one.
Said
Leanne,
and done.
this is an important thing you have to do.
Yes.
Eleuterio, please make the following announcement.
Oh. Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Yes, good. And do it properly. Go on.
Smash that like button. Subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos.
That's exactly what I needed. Because I was talking to Greg the other day, and he's like, "Oh, you've got to remember to do the like and subscribe thing because it's really important. And if you don't do that, then we don't get the algorithm working, and all this shit."
But it's so true. If these YouTubers look at their stats, as soon as they say like and subscribe in a video, that's when people like and subscribe. You've got to remember that we're sheeple.
I'm really an old grumpy bastard. In fact, I've started signing my emails GC, and it's not for Gareth Cliff. It's for grumpy cunt, because I like the last thing I want is for people to like and subscribe. I don't want you to like me. I don't care if you don't like me. The fact that I have to tell people to like things, it makes me angry. It makes me cross, and that's ridiculous because I'm a grumpy old asshole. I don't want people to like. Maybe I'm too old for TV and for this. Maybe I should just quit now. Get out of everybody's way.
No, let's not go that far.
I don't want to be doing this anymore. Fuck you all.
Okay, you know what? You just need a weekend. We'll see you here bright and early on Monday.
Anyway,
you need to come and de-stress in Dundee.
A reunion with old friends will set you straight.
Yes.
Thank you, Leanne, for doing the like and subscribe thing. I couldn't be bothered, and then I get into trouble with everybody at the office because they're like, "Why aren't you doing the like and subscribe thing?"
It's part of life.
Listen, I did not. I promise you, this is from the bottom of my heart. This is maybe the most real thing I've done on the show. I did not get into media because I wanted to be popular or famous. I hate those things. If people like me, I actively get out of the way. I don't want to belong. I don't want to belong to any group. I don't want to be part of some, that's why I've never joined a political party. That's why I've never, wanted to be in a community. There's the Portuguese club in South Africa, or there's the Italian club, or they're the people who speak this language, or the people who go to this traditional festival or whatever. I don't have any of that.
The Gareth Cliff fan club.
I don't. But if anyone launched that, I would shut it down immediately. In fact, I'd pour petrol on it and set it on fire. And Tanya with a very important announcement. Hey, Gareth, remember that time? See ya. That's his plan.
Do you know that I didn't even hear that story. I wasn't with you guys on that day when all of this news was revealed.
Oh, you missed out. You missed out. All
so
right,
I feel like I'm owed the story.
Okay, well maybe if Sia feels that he's ready to tell it again, we can get there. But right now, what a funny hour. It's 7:00 and we've got to get on with it. We've got more to come in the next hour. Lots of exciting stuff. CliffCentral.com. And also, I've got news about cancellations nobody cares about.
There's only one place on Cliff Central for 80s movie recommendations, obscure 80s references, 80s crushes, and it's the only place on Cliff Central with the best 80s songs you forgot how much you loved. That 80s Show, Fridays, 9 a.m. on Cliff Central. People say we're stuck in the 80s. Like it's a bad thing.
Rory Sutherland. Welcome to the Brain and Brand Show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be on. What a fantastic title as well. How can I resist? Yeah, I think this is absolutely vital, which is the way we perceive things depends on context. And relatively small tweaks to context change what things are. That if you recontextualize something, or if you kind of reconceptualize something, you reframe something, you tell a different story about it, you can effectively turn it into a completely different thing.
I'm Timothy Maurice, and you can download the Brain and Brand Show on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
I love that. There's Timothy Maurice. That's Rory Sutherland, who he had on. Rory Sutherland, what an interesting chap. I'm going to listen to that episode. I'm sorry that I only found out about it now. I feel a bit stupid. But Rory Sutherland is the executive creative director and vice chairman of Ogilvy. And he's an incredible man. He's one of the largest and most influential, he's one of the most important and most influential people in advertising, and really is an extraordinary man. He's written a book called Alchemy, which is really interesting too. So Timothy Maurice, making waves. Very, very nice. Sia Sangweni is with me. It is cliffcentral.com on a Friday morning. We've got Toby Shapshak coming up in a little while. Have you noticed something this morning?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to draw attention to my own failures, but there are many of them, and we may as well take note of them. So usually I'm like, blowing my nose 3/4 of the time during the first hour of the show. So I'm not doing that this morning. I think I may be either allergic to coffee or to milk. And I decided this morning I wasn't going to make any tea or coffee, and I was going to see if it made me better. And I haven't been sneezing and blowing my nose the whole time. And I feel like there might be something in there.
That's very interesting.
I'll try it again on Monday without any tea and coffee, and we'll see if maybe it's the milk. Maybe I have like maybe I'm
lactose intolerance.
Yeah, or there's some kind of allergy or something. Maybe it's just an early morning thing because I can drink coffee and tea in the rest of the day and it doesn't make me sneeze or any of that stuff. But maybe first thing in the morning, there's something weird that happens to me chemically, and maybe I should just stop. It's not good for me. Let me give it a go. Because I know it's irritating.
Enlightening news.
Sorry, Sia?
Are you willing to give those up, though, if you find out that one of those is something you can't have?
Listen, I will give up anything. There's nothing in my life, no food or drink or anything else that I care about more than doing what I do properly or doing it better or feeling better. And there's nothing worse than like sneezing and having a, runny nose and all that shit. It's horrible, man. I don't want that. I'd give up coffee in an instant. I'm not that much of a coffee fan anyway. Tea I like, but as I said to you, it's never done what it does to me in the early mornings at night, or during the day. So I can still have tea during the day if that's the case. But if I have to cut coffee out, too bad. Then I'll cut it out.
About a year ago, I started developing itchy hands every time I showered. So like hot water would irritate the insides of my hands. And
wow.
Yeah. And they actually started like blistering a little bit at some points. So if I had a really, a really long shower and, did the whole routine with shaving and all the rest of it, that would be particularly irritating to my hands. And I thought it was maybe one of my products. So throughout my search, I started eliminating products. That didn't help until eventually for about 3 days, I showered with no products at all, just water. And the situation was still there. And so I started looking up and Googling it, obviously. And there are there's a small percentage of the population that's allergic to water on parts of your body. Yeah.
It's not a nervous thing.
No, definitely not.
Sure.
Even if I, when your fingers start wrinkling when you're in the pool for too long, that would happen on my entire palm of my hand and in between my fingers.
You are a mystery.
It's so annoying. It's terrible. And I was starting to really hate getting into the shower.
Leanne, you should stop using so much sulfuric acid.
Oh.
Yeah, no, trust me, I eliminated everything that I could. And it's just one of those things. So now I have to take shorter showers.
So is it ongoing? You still haven't discovered what
it's not as bad at the moment for some reason. I don't know why. But then
it's a nervous thing.
No, I don't think so. Then with COVID and washing hands and using sanitizer, that just made it terrible. But yeah, it's weird. You can go your whole life and then without being allergic to something, and then just develop an allergy.
If you're allergic to water, I mean, you might as well just kill yourself, because being allergic. I mean, listen, but Leanne, being allergic to water is that's impossibly shit, right? That's the shittest thing, because you need water every single day. Can you imagine if your throat closed up if you drank water? You're not going to last long. You've got 3 days to live.
There are certain people in the world, very, very rare, who cannot shower at all. They have to use water from brands like Aven, which is French spring water. It's a thing. It happens, and it happens to a lot of women while they're pregnant. They develop these itchy hands and feet.
I think that is nature telling you your time is up. I think that's like nature saying, you know what, it's been fun, but now I'm going to make you allergic to water. So enjoy the last few hours of your miserable life.
Gosh.
We're going to give you a glass of this, and you don't even need a poison. You're just I'm allergic to water.
If you look at the comments, there are a lot of people who have experience with this, or a family member who has experience with this.
All right, well, here we are. Bitleng says my mother has the same problem. But I mean, Bitleng is so weird. Karen says, do you know how many chickens die when we eat them? What kind of a comment is that to bring out of nowhere? You're insane, Karen. Karen and Andre, you're both banned from the show. Andre says, wonder whether people are allergic to me. Everyone finds me so annoying. Yes. I don't know what else to say. Andre, if you came to the show hoping this would be the kind of show where we'd be like, no, everybody's welcome and we want you to stay and we want you to feel at home. Nah, not really. If you're not fitting in, you can fuck off.
Oh, good.
I like the weather. Do you like the weather? I like when the sun rises and then the sun sets.
I'm not going to beg anyone to stay. If you're not feeling welcome, you can go. There's the door. Thanks. It's great fun. It's been fun having you around. All right. Here's Ellen Dooley, who says, be grateful that you don't have a baby, Leanne, with that allergy. That would be horrible. Imagine you can't bath or shower your baby. All right. I just want to get to some things that are important that are going on in the news. First of all, you must just tell me, put your hand up if you care about this, okay?
Okay.
Do you care that the NBA's ratings have slid to the lowest in 9 years? NBA, that's the National Basketball Association, become very political over the last couple of months. They've all been taking part in the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and people have been kneeling before games. They've stopped singing the anthem. Many of the teams are wearing George Floyd shirts and all that stuff. Ratings have slid to the lowest in 9 years. Do you care about the NBA? Any hands up?
There are two different questions there. Do I care about the NBA? No, not at all. It means nothing in my life. But what they're doing, and because they're slipping, that means something.
Okay, it means something.
It means something because it tells you what society is like.
Okay, do you care about the Golden Globes?
No.
I sometimes do.
Okay, well, they've cancelled the Golden Globes for next year. They're not going to have them. And now the whole of Hollywood, because they're hashtag so brave, people like Tom Cruise are going, you know what? I'm going to give back my Golden Globes because it's not representative enough. It's not transformed enough. There are not enough black people on the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for Tom Cruise. So he's so brave, he's handed back his little shiny golden trophy. Aren't you proud of him?
That's fantastic, Tom, that you give away the actual piece of the award, but you've had the money, the accolades. Well, take accolades out of it. You've had the money, the fame from it.
So my favorite one is Mark Ruffalo. You know, the guy who plays Hulk. That's the most famous contribution to human society. You played this fucking green Hulk on a superhero movie, you douchebag. So he goes at the Golden Globes this year, which was what, 3 months ago or so? It was in February.
They're around Feb, yeah.
He goes up and he collects his award. All right, let me grab something that looks like an award. He goes up onto the stage. He's like, "Oh, thank you so much for my award. I just want to thank all of you. You're such a wonderful community of actors. I'm so proud of this. And thank you to the Hollywood Foreign Press." Now he's like, "Hey, you can have your award back. I don't want it anymore because you guys aren't transformed enough." I'm like, "Yeah, you didn't seem like you were so anti the award when you got it on stage, you big moron." What's going on? So we don't care about the Golden Globes, and they say they're not going to come back because they've got to go off and think about themselves. You know, this is what people do because they're under pressure from insane people on Twitter. Well, we're going to have to go away and think about how bad we are. This is an organization, the Hollywood Foreign Press, is all the journalists who review movies. Okay, these are not people who have to think about what they do for a living and change everything about themselves. Nobody gives two shits if the Hollywood Foreign Press Association spends 3 years thinking about themselves. In fact, I think all they do is think about themselves.
You are right.
So
I'll have to say I'm a little verklempt about some of these, though.
Really? You like them?
I would wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. to watch the Grammys live, to watch the Oscars live, it's a big chunk of my life and popular culture. So now it's just not going to be there.
Well, you see, these guys are going so woke now. There's no fun because the woke people don't want you to have fun. Everything's deadly serious. They have to get around each other and police each other's language. So I was at a lunch on Sunday, and one of the members of the extended family told me he was at a dinner the night before. So that would have been Saturday last week. And he said it was mostly school teachers. And, God bless school teachers. I've got friends who are school teachers, but most of them are complete turds because they only deal with children all the time. So they don't really know how to have adult conversations. And they're all very politically correct, right? Teachers are terrifically politically correct. I mean, it's the kind of job that would attract those sorts of people. And he says he was at this dinner and everything he said they had a problem with. Like everything he said, someone at the table raised their eyebrows and kind of went, "You can't say that."
Oh, no.
He said he was in bed by 9:30 because it was the most boring dinner he's ever been to. Because what was happening is everyone around the table was policing everyone else's language. And this is what's happening. This is why the Golden Globes cannot be fun anymore. Remember, Ricky Gervais was the most interesting guy on television that year that he told the people at the Golden Globes where to get off.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? He spoke honestly to those hideously elitist Hollywood celebrities, and he told them where to get off. And it was very entertaining for those of us who are not extremely rich, extremely protected, cotton-balled Hollywood celebrities. We all thought it was funny and it was entertaining. And he was taking pot shots at them because they're all friends with Harvey Weinstein. So the Golden Globes are not fun anymore. And the ratings were slipping anyway. So they're using this thing about transformation as an excuse to hide the fact that no one cares about the Golden Globes anymore. So that's why I asked you, do you care about these things? So NBA's gone. Nobody's watching that anymore. Ellen DeGeneres has just quit her show. Nobody's watching that anymore. The Talk is no fun anymore because Sharon Osbourne's gone. They've dropped right out of the top 12 shows in America, which they held a position in for the longest time. Nobody cares anymore. And these things are going to start happening in all the places where all the fun is. So you can't have fun anymore because the people who are woke on Twitter don't want you to have fun. So thanks, guys. All you've done is made the world a whole lot more boring.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that in terms of celebrities, can you hear an echo on me?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It must be yours. It must be the seance.
Oh, the spirits are coming back.
Go ahead.
Just in terms of COVID happening, I think it's had a huge effect on the value that we put on celebrities.
Mm.
And we've just reprioritized everything in our lives.
Well, people don't really care about celebrities anymore. I mean, when Lady Gaga starts telling you've got to wear a mask if you care about other people, or you must definitely get this vaccine rather than that one. I mean, that's the last person I'm going to go to for that kind of advice is Lady Gaga. She's a great musician, and she's an interesting person to watch. And we all remember the meat dress, and she's definitely creative, and I appreciate that about her. But I do not need to be. If I were one of those people who was anti-vax, and I'm not. If I were a person who's sitting here going, I'm definitely not getting the vaccine, and I'm not. But the thing that would persuade me would be Lady Gaga. Then I really shouldn't get the vaccine because I should die. And it should be a bit of Darwinism that creeps in. I should die because I shouldn't be smart enough to be alive. If I'm waiting for my moral guidance from Lady Gaga, I've got problems, and it's not the vaccine.
I'm trying to make sense of it because things have definitely changed from even 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that type of thing worked, even with politicians and what they would do and how they would coax us into doing things. That would work.
So listen to this story, and I don't want to go on about this because it seems like a subject that just doesn't go away. But I know that this annoys people as much as it annoys me because we're not all that stupid, right? I mean, there are a lot of us who manage to make it through the day breathing and walking at the same time. So we're not all dumb. This, in London, they have the underground, right, Leanne?
Mm.
London Underground, it's where people travel on to get from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
So on the London Underground, one of the people who's walking through the train to check if people have tickets, or it could have been the Heathrow Express, or I don't know, wherever it is that you have to actually show a ticket, because there are still trains in England that they do that on. And then you just show them your ticket, and then you can stay wherever you are, because some people sneak into first class or whatever it is. So the guy's walking down, ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your tickets? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Your tickets, please. And some person on the train is gender non-binary.
Oh boy.
So they go onto social media and they say, I can't believe that the person on the train from Exeter said ladies and gentlemen, and I'm gender non-binary. You better up your game, whatever the train company's name is.
What did this person want them to say?
Well, here's the problem. The problem isn't that person. They're allowed to feel that way. They're gender non-binary. They've probably got all kinds of issues, and they can deal with those by telling the rest of us about them or shutting up or going to a psychologist. I don't know. But the problem is what happened afterwards, because this company that runs the train then posted an apology to this moron instead of just ignoring it. Like, you don't have to respond to an idiot like that. Why do you have to respond? Just ignore it. Don't take a person like that seriously. Come on.
And this is like similar to, what was it, Leanne? You brought this story up a few months ago. Some airline is now is banning terms like ladies and gentlemen as well because of such a thing.
Yeah. But this train company said, "Oh, it's unacceptable that people use language like that on a train." Really?
No, it's not unacceptable.
Ladies and gentlemen is like how most people address a crowd of what is mostly men and women. I mean, throughout human history, it's been mostly men and women. I hate to break it to you, but gender non-binary doesn't typically tend to breed and make more gender non-binaries. So you're going to be, your particular and peculiar condition is the anomaly. And your particular and peculiar condition doesn't mean that people like me are going to be mean to you for no good reason. But it also doesn't mean that you have the right to enforce your nonsense on the rest of us, because most of us are men or women. And unfortunately for you, as someone who's gender non-binary, you're in the tiniest of minorities. And not everyone has to include you in their greeting, especially when they don't know you personally and they're just trying to do a job. What madness is this? What narcissism is this? What kind of self-absorbed nonsense have you been conditioned with throughout your life that you think everyone must address you individually. If there is a crowd of 10,000 people, hey, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. I'm gender non-binary. I'm not a lady or a gentleman, and I'd like you to refer to me separately, please, at this rock concert.
No.
You need your head read.
No, I think we've tipped way over the scales. I remember a few years ago watching a documentary on Netflix called Disclosure.
Yeah.
And it is about trans people and trans issues, because I really wanted to get an insight more on it. And I'd have to say that documentary opened up my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know before. But when we've gone a little too far, when now there is what should be an assumption, like you should know X, Y, and Z about me, because how dare you not know? And the fact that you don't even know it means you're a horrible person. Aren't we still in a process of learning about each other and, trying to get educated, if that is the thing?
Yeah. Isn't it also true that you can reserve the right to be a horrible person, like I was to Andre this morning? I sometimes
well, sure, but I'm saying for most of us, we don't want to go around and be horrible.
You are allowed to be horrible, and I think we've forgotten this. Like, we think that everybody needs to. That there's some kind of, and there's a risk in being horrible to people, is that people will not like you in return, and that you won't do well, because in society, we are not islands. We have to support each other. If nobody supports you because nobody likes you, because you don't like anyone and you're mean to people, you're not going to do well in life. That's a fact. But there are some people who probably deserve our ire. Like, I'm not a big fan of Adolf Hitler. Forgive me. If I'm not a big fan of Adolf Hitler and I say mean things about him, and he's an obvious example, because there's no bravery in saying that you don't like Adolf Hitler. But if I don't like, let's say, Mosebenzi Zwane, who was in the news this morning, he was that minister who was like the lackey for the Guptas. Now, for some people, that's not on. You're not allowed to say that you don't like someone. So Michael says, just to wrap this up, Michael says, imagine addressing a crowd. Good morning, beautiful people. And then some woke asswipe objects on behalf of the people who are not beautiful. Well, that's the point. That's the point, right? I mean, here's what's happening. And I'm going to try and put this as simply as possible. Okay. I think I should be more handsome than I am. And that's absolutely fine for me to think. I'm disappointed every time I go up to the mirror. But if I believed I was beautiful, and I then expected everyone else to also call me beautiful, whether or not they actually felt that way, that would be going a step too far, don't you think?
Yeah, got you.
So what's going on in your head is your business. That doesn't
exactly.
mean
it's like
everyone outside has to live up to that as well.
It's like assuming that people should assume what your mood is that day before they go, good morning. Right. And what if I'm having a bad morning, am I going to stand up and say, how dare you say good morning when I'm on my way to a funeral? Those are your issues. Just deal with them yourself. Damn it.
Do you know who I predict is going to get cancelled next? And please mark my words. Let's note this day. I see it happening.
Yeah.
All of these, everyone in the baby industry, where your babies are us and whatnot, because it's built on, are you having a boy, are you having a girl? And this is blue for a boy and this is pink for a girl. I can see it now. They're going to get cancelled soon, because don't assume my baby's gender. I'm raising my baby gender neutral. So everyone from cardies and printing out baby shower invitations to manufacturing, I can see it happening now.
So here's Andre. We'll let him have the last word before we go to Toby Shapshak, because I've been so mean about him this morning. Andre says, but Gareth, I smile when you express your annoyance. I love your honesty and the reasons your show. So, okay. Andre will agree that you can stay and you can listen, but I don't care. We'll agree. So Andre can stay and he's allowed to listen, but he's not allowed to message anymore.
Okay, that's the thing.
Message and you annoy me, then I'll just block you. All right. So
can
Andre,
we give him something at least? Because maybe going cold turkey is a lot. Can we give him one message a day?
See, you can talk to Andre as much as you like. I'm not banning you from talking to him. You're a free person. You can do whatever you want. I'm just not going to. Let's talk to someone much more interesting than Andre. His name is Toby Shapshak. No, really. Now, so Toby, first of all, listen. I'm sorry, my friend. You've called me like 3 times, and every time you've called me in the last couple of weeks, I have been in a meeting or in a recording, and I think you think I'm trying to avoid you.
I don't think you're trying to avoid me. I know you're trying to avoid me, Cliff.
I swear to God, I promise you, my friend.
At least one of the times I've called you is because people come on your show and call you Cliff, like it's your first name, which I find hilarious. I mean, I worked at the Mail and Guardian when my middle name's David, and there were like a bunch of us. There were David Beresford, David Jammy, David Shapshak. So we all started being called by our surnames. Beresford, Jammy, Shapshak. I'm completely used to that. I have a friend whose name is Rebecca, and she was at boarding school, and all 4 girls in the same room as her all were called Rebecca. So like being called by your surname, I think is kind of, part of life. But the fact that someone does it on your show continuously every time, or not every time, but several people do, I find amusing.
It is amusing. So listen, I promise I wasn't avoiding you. First of all, it's great to see you on TV. You've got a new show. It's called Stuff on eNCA, which is the short for the acronym for that is SOE, which is a state-owned enterprise.
Yes. I mean, it's the obvious name for the show, right? It's Stuff on eNCA, but now it's called you could call me Toby Molefe, actually.
Works out well.
I'm gonna show government how it's done. This is how you run a successful SOE.
All right, so let's talk about the show. There's lots of stuff I want to talk to you about, if you'll pardon the pun there again. But the Stuff on E show, just tell me about what that's all about, and give us an idea of when it is and kind of what things you're going to be covering there, because people have always enjoyed you on this show, and I'm sure they'll want to see more.
Thank you. It's every Friday night at 9:30 on eNCA, channel 403 on DSTV. And it's Stuff on eNCA, all the exciting technology advances, medical advances. I mean, last week we had an unbelievable lineup of medical apps developed in South Africa, one called Epione that lets doctors refer patients to specialists and continue to get the information backwards and forwards. I mean, people are unaware of how little communication within the medical system. Well, they probably aren't unaware. There's another great app called Synapse, also South African developed, being used here. One of the great examples is for burn patients in 2 Pietermaritzburg hospitals. There isn't actually a burn unit, but the doctors are able to look and deal with these patients, even though they're not nearby them or remotely. So those kinds of clever innovations, Gareth, that's the kind of thing that I think is really fascinating. So tonight we're looking at e-commerce, like how e-commerce boomed. Worldwide Work says it grew 66% last year to 30 billion rand. That's
amazing. I mean, I placed an order on Take-A-Lot the other day, and I'm not just plugging them because they're South African, but it's amazing how, Amazon, I mean, what a monster. The fact that Jeff Bezos is just stamping out competition in every corner of the world, from little, general dealers in small towns right through to the biggest, retail stores in the world.
The everything store.
It's unbelievable, right? I mean, you and I know you've introduced me to a number of shops overseas, and some of them are closing down, sadly, because they just can't compete with these online people. And
okay, listen, the good news is it's only Muji America that closed down, none of the other stores. Globally, Muji is still open. It's okay. Thank God we can still get Muji pens. I have spares. Don't worry, Gareth.
Yeah, I've got some as well. Okay, hang on. Anyway,
but I agree that e-commerce. The thing about COVID, the most important thing for me is that most people have a reluctance to learn new skills or to learn new things. Or if you're an older person, you call your kid or you call your grandkid and they do it for you.
Hold on.
During lockdown, that just was impossible.
Sorry, I just want to sort something out. There's like a little bit of like a bad connection. It's almost like something's not working properly. Can we just go out and then come back into the stream? I just want to reload
Sure.
it. not sounding great, and then it annoys people. They get crazy.
I think it was from his earphones.
Yeah, did you hear it as well? It wasn't just in my head.
It sounded like a string of farts.
Okay, yeah, because I'm
Leanne.
It sounded like a string, and I don't want people to think Toby's coming on the show and farting.
Yeah.
No.
Got to get the right orifice.
What are the pens that Toby referred to now? They are called Muji, M-U-J-I.
You bought me one, Gareth, when you
one.
went on one of your trips.
Yeah, they're the best. The best. Here's a Muji.
Why
pen.
are they the best?
Yeah.
Welcome to our cult. Here's our. Come on, Sia. Come on.
No.
Got to cover your eyes for the picture.
Here's the only one who
I have many.
He doesn't have one. Yeah, look, this is called peer pressure. We all have Muji.
What
pens.
is this?
It's called pen pressure.
Yes.
Do we
Pen
need to
pressure.
sing to this pen at noon?
No, you know why I love this brand. See, I'll tell you why. It's called Muji. Muji means in Japanese brand of no brand, and it came about in the 80s when there was this. I mean, this was before you were born, I'm quite sure. There was this mass consumerism, pretty much like any kind of ANC gathering, conference gathering, mass consumerism, and this Japanese company came about with these really great high quality products, very Japanese styled, with no branding on them, and I really love that. I'm really quite ascetic when it comes to ostentatious branding, and they are excellent, simple. I still have the same set of cutlery that I've had for maybe 25 years. All the stuff I've ever bought from them, I'm still using. They're just really fantastic. And that's, I suppose that in many ways, I don't know how this ties to any kind of TV show, but that is the brilliance of something like Muji. They are a brand that has no brand. You don't buy it with a big logo on the front. It doesn't say super dry. It's simple and beautiful and elegant, and it's all about the product. It's not about the brand.
One of the things I've always loved about Stuff magazine, and what I'm sure that you're going to be able to do on the show too, and because you've got a TV show, you could actually show us moving picture, not just still image of some of these incredible products. And I think that's what people love. And you've introduced me to so many cool things over the years, just like little things, little life hacks that just make travel much easier, little life hacks that make using technology much better. I mean, this is such good stuff, because if I distill anything in my whole life down to what matters the most, it's these little things that make life more efficient. It just flows more easily. You have beauty and aesthetics at the same time as you have functionality. I just love that stuff. And isn't that the reason that products like Apple are the best, most expensive and most valuable products in the world?
Well, because they just work, as Steve Jobs always promised. There's some very similar brands to that. Sonos, the sound system.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. I have very slowly replaced the existing sound system in my house with Sonos. Awesome. Just works. I mean, it didn't always just work. It's gotten significantly better. There was some connection issues, but it is now very good.
Sonos have wireless speakers that you can put in any room, and they all connect to each other, and you can play it
wirelessly
from your phone or whatever. So you don't
so
need
you
to have
you can play
expensive hi-fi with all the wires and the cables and none of that.
It's brilliant.
You don't need any of that. No, it's amazing.
So you can play the whole house, the same music, or each room individual music. In our new Stuff studios, it's about 300 square meters. I've got the very small Sonos Roam. I mean, it's only about this big.
Yeah.
And it fills the entire space. It's astounding. But that's the kind of, I suppose in many ways what we're talking about is, what does the media do? The media have always, or journalists have always been big data scientists. I'd go to the Truth Commission, I'd cover a Winnie Mandela hearing for the whole day, and I'd write it up in 400 words and explain everything that happened and all the key quotes. Something went terribly wrong, end quote. That's what journalists do, and that's what the media does. So Stuff doesn't break stories about, well, often break stories about big corruption or things like that, but we have our place in the kind of tapestry of media freedom, and part of that is people want to know technology they're buying, especially if it's a smartphone or it's a cell phone, or because that's a 2-year purchase. So we go through all of that and we make sure all of that is fine. Hello, my guy.
Is that Max?
My voice, that's Max. He's not feeling great. So, okay.
Let's see Max. Hello, Max. Haven't seen him in ages. Last time he was a baby.
He's not
Listen,
his best.
Your earphone thing, the buzzing is back. I don't know what it's from. I mean, for a tech expert, it's not. There we go. That's better.
What is this?
What is that? It's something that makes Daddy's headphones buzz.
It's still buzzing.
But
it's still buzzing, whatever
It's
it
like
is.
a
I don't know what
static thing.
Leanne says it sounds like a string of little farts.
Has it got anything to do with my headphones? Those are now off.
Yeah,
better.
maybe.
Yeah.
That's better.
Wow,
Nice.
Apple always works. Always just works. So the fascinating thing for me, watching the difference between all the other forms of journalism I do and television, is that television is just so much more visceral because you can see what's going on so much better, right? You can see what's happening. And that's really powerful. You can reach a lot more people. And at the end of the day, Gareth, like there's so much good stuff in South Africa. Like we went to this one company. I'm completely in love with this company. They're called Infinite Industries, iindustries.co.za. They take the stuff that would end up in landfill, plastic, aluminium, and they turn it into useful things. They compress it into boards so you can make desks for kids. I want to make a bench and I want to make tables for our offices, all out of stuff that would one day be in a landfill. I mean, this is the kind of like amazing story that we come across often, and we can tell it so much better with television. But what I want to do is just not just television. It's got to be, we live in a multimedia world. You know this. You're one of the great independent media producers. John, please buy some Sonos headphones. They don't make those yet. I do have some very nice Sennheisers that I'll fetch in a second. But that's, the point of journalism is to expose or to shine a light on all of these good stories. And television is now part of it because video is how we communicate. It's always been how we communicate. We understand things we see, and while we're watching and listen, it's a more powerful medium because of that. But we write the stories, we let people know. I mean, how's this for an unbelievable story? Dr. Ivor Chipkin, you've had him on the show before.
Yes.
He's the academic. He's a genius, man. This man is incredibly smart and erudite. He's taken his state capture research. I mean, he literally wrote the book on state capture. He's taken that and turned it into an algorithm that you use to predict whether a company or a country has the capacity it says it does to do it. So you want to build a road. The company says, I'm going to build a road. And his company called Safe Passage takes a look at it and they say, you have the capacity to build a road or you don't. Now his conclusions about South Africa are just downright scary, as you would imagine. It doesn't seem like any part of the country has the capacity to deliver on anything the politicians offer us. But it's that kind of story that we're just not seeing it anywhere, and I'm really glad that we can tell these kind of amazing stories, when the founders of companies send me messages.
I'm really excited. Also, I mean, you're a no bullshit kind of guy, and that's also why I think people like.
That's Mr. No Bullshit to you.
Like I said, your pronouns are him and his. There he is. Yeah, Toby Shapshak. But people like to hear and see you. They like to hear what you have to say about everything from gadgets to the latest developments in. I mean, I love this idea of turning crap that we're going to throw away into useful stuff. That's just fantastic. Yeah, I love it.
Listen,
all right, so
I went to Boksburg and I fell in love in Boksburg with this company. You too, Gareth, will go to Boksburg and fall in love.
How often do you hear the words, I went to Boksburg and fell in love? I mean, that on its own, it should be worth at least a daytime Emmy. So, okay.
should we do an advertising campaign for Infinite Industries and go, I went to Boksburg, I fell in love.
All right, so you are on a Friday night on eNCA, that's channel 403. At what time? 8:30.
9:30.
9:30. Okay.
Yeah.
So if And you
In
have
fact,
to
you know
watch.
what?
You have to watch
finished
live.
eating-
I know this because if people don't watch live, you don't get the ratings. Then they'll can the show. This is hugely important because it's the same thing for me. So
No,
if you
I
don't
watch your show religiously every Wednesday night.
thank you. I mean, some weeks are better than others. Let's just put
Some
it
weeks
that
I'm
way.
muted, some weeks I don't.
All right, so just watch Toby this evening. Get off your lazy backside, and then go and sit it down again in front of the television tonight at 9:30, and make sure you don't miss stuff on eNCA. It's called SOE. You'll think it's about corruption and state-owned enterprises, and they may even cover that sometimes, but you don't
But
want
it's
to miss it.
hosted by Brian Shapshak.
All right, man. Have a happy day, and love to Max and Annabelle.
You too. Cheers, man.
Cheers, dude. Bye-bye. I love that guy. He's so funny. There he is, Toby Shapshak, everybody. What a crazy crackpot. A good show, though. I've got to warn you, if you haven't seen it yet, you're missing out. And I don't want anyone to miss out. There's lots of stuff going on in the world. You only have so much time in your day. Fill it with the useful content, the stuff you care about. And speaking of useful content and the stuff you care about, here he is George Meany.
Yay.
You should announce those boxing intros.
In the red corner, what do they always say? Weighing in at 120 kilograms with fists of steel, it's George Meany. And in the blue corner, with her enormous titties, it's Leanne.
It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill.
Oh, my
of the
Lord.
fight. You see, I can double up as the theme song person and as the ring girl. Yes, I will don a bikini for this. Dun, 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 dun.
So you made me Friday.
All right, enough of the nonsense. So, George, what do you have for us this morning? What's on the menu?
You just made my Friday, Gareth. It's not
Didn't take
only.
Yeah.
His first song was, I think it was before lockdown. What was that song you
Horrible.
You brought it.
Horrible.
I can't remember its name.
Which one?
There was I don't know. Are there a few?
Your
Oh,
song,
my
Sia.
song?
Your song,
It's you. Oh, it's you.
It's you.
It
Please,
started
no.
on the day I never felt this way. So that is the only song that we can.
Okay, I've taken him off the stream for the
Oh,
moment.
well done.
All right, so let's go back to George. George, I'm sorry for all these interruptions and Sia just making it about him, but you go ahead. What do you got for us today?
He's like totally sidetracked my head. Anyway, the corruption. That's what I wanted to say. Was the corruption?
Corruption.
The corruption is not only in South Africa. So this gentleman in California, he used COVID loans and grants from the US government. It was called the Federal Coronavirus Relief Loan, by setting up a phony business, getting $5 million US, which, by the way, is 70 million rand, and then used the money to buy vacations, a Ferrari, a Bentley, a Lamborghini, and prosecutor. He's 38 years old. His name is Mustafa Kudiri, and he was arrested last week. I mean. Like, you know what?
Let me tell you something. If you're going to be corrupt, don't also have the name Mustafa. I mean, it's not a great. I mean, Mustafa just, if you've got a name like Mustafa, it just sounds like you're already getting shit together to be as corrupt as possible. And then you go, how many cars?
A Ferrari, a Bentley, and a Lamborghini. I mean, if you're going to be corrupt, like the corrupt people seem to be flashy, and then they get caught.
They're so stupid. George, I went to dinner on Wednesday night, and I was sitting next to somebody, and we were talking about if we won the lottery, or if we suddenly made like billions of rands in business or whatever. The last thing I would do is buy a flashy car. It's like you're asking for trouble. Like, this is what these dumb people who do. If you've worked hard your whole life and you really need a Ferrari, I understand. Go and buy a Ferrari. You do what you want with your money. But if you are one of those people who's got away with enormous amounts of luck, or if you're a corrupt son of a bitch and you've stolen the money, do not draw attention to yourself with the obvious flashy car. It's like such an invitation to SARS to come and check out your stuff. Or worse, to people who will come out of the woodwork and say they're your cousin or whatever and they need some money. Someone will be sending you notes to say, oh, my daughter's so sick. Can you please pay her hospital bills? Don't do it. Don't do it.
Exactly. You're inviting trouble if you're all flashy. It's just not, Anyway,
may that be a problem we all have to deal with one day. That we're so rich that we have to be, you have to tone down our spending. Let that be a problem.
Exactly. So, Mr. Mustafa, you shouldn't have bought those Ferraris, Bentleys, and Lamborghinis, China. 38 years old, but not a clever corrupt.
Pretty stupid.
So he's been released on $100,000 bail, and will appear in court. And they seized the cars, and they seized $2 million left in cash in his bank as well. Okay. Almost sounds like Mufasa. Remember the Lion King, Mufasa, and then the hyenas.
Yes.
So you said Mufasa. Now see, he got so excited he froze. Okay, carry on, George. What else have we got?
And then a positive story in South Africa. Two major insurers have rolled up their sleeves and started to repair Johannesburg's potholes. Now, before I get into the actual story, guess how many potholes there? Well, I think there's probably more than this, but guess how many potholes are reported to exist in South Africa?
Billions.
Billions and billions.
479 gazillion.
48,000 potholes have been reported in South Africa. 48,000 potholes. Now, juxtapose that against a road network of 754,000 kilometers in South Africa. Okay, so we've got 754,000 kilometers of road, 48,000.
George is buffering a little. We'll just wait for him to unbuffer.
That sounds rude.
It's rude. It's very rude.
Oh, George, mother buffer.
Let's watch him unbuff.
But look at how he's frozen in that position. I'm going to just put that on the screen so you can have a look at George.
No.
I think George was about to give us a good maths equation there. The number of kilometers of road divided by the number of potholes reported.
Yeah.
How well we do there.
Anytime you give us a maths equation, everything freezes. That's what happened. So we'll get George back on, and then he can finish his equation, and hopefully everything won't freeze again. But I do love Fridays, because when I see George come on the show, and I'm like, yes, it's the weekend. Fine. Fantastic. And we've had lots of crazy shit to talk about this morning, so I feel like I've started my day right. Here he is. He's back. Here's George Meany. He's returned. Go ahead, George.
Wi-Fi issues.
You were telling us about potholes and the amount of kilometers of road we have.
Yes, so we've got 754,000 kilometers of road in South Africa, and we have 48,000 potholes reported, apparently. So if we go 754,000 kilometers divided by 48,000 potholes, there's roughly one pothole every 15 to 16 kilometers. Feels like there's a pothole every 100 meters in my area, but be that way. Those are the numbers. So the good news story, though, is two major insurance companies in South Africa have decided to jump on the bandwagon again, one of them being Dial Direct, and help the Joburg Roads Agency fix the potholes. But
I love that. Come on, that's good, right? I mean, we always give the insurance companies a huge amount of trouble because we hate their ads. I mean, if I see another Ilana Africa dancing in a supermarket ad, or I have to watch some asshole in a car talk about how great their insurance is, it's just appalling. It's appalling. It's embarrassing. It's shit from beginning to end. Their advertising has always been shit. There isn't a single insurance company, except for Naked, who worked with us for a while, and because Ernest is such a clever guy, has ever come up with any advertising that was any good. And these guys, we give them hell because they deserve it. But in this case, I want to lay the credit down like a carpet before their feet. I want to say, Dial Direct, I love you, because even if you fix 3 potholes, you're doing more than almost anyone else in this country, and certainly more than anyone in government. Good for you.
Exactly. So under this initiative, and well done. I think it's a brilliant initiative. It was done years ago. Dalderic used to be involved in this pothole project before, but now they've got special trucks. And City Mayor Jeff Makubo said that they aim to fix around 4,000 potholes per month using specialized trucks. So please be patient. And Mr. Mbulula, our transport minister, said it costs around 700 to 1,500 rand per square meter to fund pothole repairs. He also said, though, the country's provincial road network has reached the end of its design life of 25 years. So, does that mean more potholes? But hopefully, companies in South Africa that are helping, like Dalderic, we can avoid holes in the road.
All right. Well,
So
I
just
just
to
again,
sort of-
again, I just want to say well done to Dalderic. Really, can't say that enough. If you're fixing potholes, you're a friend of the people of South Africa. See ya?
Exactly.
But just to sift through what they're doing, do you think, yes, okay, they might all mean well, but do you think it's because they've been so inundated with claims, insurance claims, that it would actually be cheaper to fix the potholes than to carry on forking out money?
Well, I mean, you probably, Sia, there has to be a reason. But, besides the reason to not get more claims is the underlying reason could be, the consumer benefit to not actually putting that claim in, the inconvenience, so while this does benefit potentially lower claim rates, at the end of the day, Dalderic would be wanting to help the consumer, and I feel like that's their objective. Their objective isn't to lower claim rates.
But it is also, I suppose, useful to them because they're filling us all with some sense of hope about the fact that someone's taking care of this problem. They probably have to deal with so many claims over wheels that have become damaged in potholes. I mean, we know that's a serious problem, right? So they're in some ways they are self-serving, but nothing's altruistic. This is about as close as you're going to get to it. Let's move on. What else is there?
Well, then Pirelli. Pirelli is leading the cyber tire industry. So Pirelli put onto the McLaren Artura and a tire that is going to become the future of the Internet of Things. So this tire has sensors inside the tire, which is connected to the rubber. Now, the pressure sensors that you have in your car are connected to the valve, which is connected to the rim of the car. So what these sensors do is they actually measure temperature of the rubber, they measure the pressure of the tire, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And they've put it onto this McLaren in a hope to get real-time information on the track. But usually the track is a birthplace of technology that eventually gets into the cars that we drive. And you can imagine with the connected network, we're talking about potholes here. So you can imagine with a connected network of tires cars speaking to each other on a 5G network, and this has been tested already on a 5G network in international parts of the world. And you can imagine these tires talking to each other and being able to warn other cars where potholes are. Because if a tire hits a pothole,
I like the sound of that. But when someone says like tires talking to each other in 5G, I'm like, whoa, stop, just slowly now. Tires talking to each other. Leanne is already like, listen, she doesn't like the fact that her car is talking to the guy at the garage when she doesn't even know. It's like they're whispering behind your back. So how would you feel if your tires started talking to other tires on the road, Leanne? Oh, she's on mute.
Yeah, she's on mute.
You've got to accept these things, Gareth. It's part of life.
You've got to move with the times, Leanne, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I will listen to what Leanne has to say because, of course, she is our resident tie and wheel expert because she knows wheels on
don't even
axle
go there.
and how to parallel park.
I barely got over that.
Yes, last week with your stupid car that parks on the side like that. It's ridiculous.
Not stupid.
We didn't laugh at you, Leanne. We actually laughed with you the whole week.
Oh, no.
You put a smile on my entire team's face because of that.
If I
Oh,
had
dear.
if I had lots and lots of money, I would buy you a car like that, just so that you could be the only person in South Africa who drives a car that drives sideways.
You could
Thank
drift
you,
without
Gareth. Yeah.
All right. Now let's go back to George from the tire and wheel department, the tire and wheel department of Leanne Mall. Go back, George. On to you.
So this is exciting stuff. I mean, in the world of the Internet of Things, 5G is imminent. The naysayers can push against it. It's going to happen, unfortunately or fortunately for you, depending on which position you take. But with the 5G network, car manufacturers, tire manufacturers, parts manufacturers are going to begin building sensors, putting sensors into their equipment that is going to talk to the network, which is going to make life even easier for us. And then people are going to claim poppy and all those things, and I'm pretty sure that the companies are going to comply. But I think it's exciting. I think bring it on.
Fantastic.
And then finally, Gareth, you remember last week before, I had the Porsche Taycan.
Yes, you made us all very jealous. In fact,
yes.
Who is it here who said that? Someone wanted you to lend them your car. I think it was Woody. He said, Woody says, can you please lend me your car? He says borrow, but I'm going to correct that so he's not embarrassed. Because, of course, Woody, if he used the word borrow, it would mean he was an uneducated fool. But he wouldn't have used that, so I'm sure he meant lent. George, can you lend me your car for a month? I need to get to work. Thank you in advance, Woody. So will you help him out? No.
Sorry, Woody. Then that means I would have to walk, and I might not make the Cliff Central show.
No.
So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to at this point in time. If I had two cars, maybe, but I don't.
Yeah. Okay, but you had that Porsche, and tell us more about it because it looked fantastic. It was very sexy. The little bits we got to see.
Fantastic. It was absolute dream to drive. I was loath to give it back that day that we spoke. But there's one particular aspect of that car that is creeping into all electric cars, and that is the soundtrack that plays. Now, don't think of the soundtrack as speakers playing the sound. I want to dig into how this technology actually works. But it is a soundtrack, and the car emits the sound. I played with it on this Porsche. When I first heard about electric cars emitting a soundtrack or a sound, I thought they were going to start making sounds like the traditional exhaust tones that you would hear in an internal combustion engine. But that's absolutely not the case. It is a very futuristic zinging sound that emits from the car, which is actually let me call it fake. It's not the car's real sound, but it's really there to ensure that pedestrians hear the car. But it also is a very cool feature.
Okay,
now I understand.
Made up so that people, because otherwise you don't even hear these electric cars, and people would be crushed constantly under their wheels with their shopping. So it's really to keep pedestrians on the outside of the car safe.
Exactly. So, but the amount of thought that companies like Porsche and BMW and others are putting into the soundtrack. I watched a few short documentaries on how they produce these sounds. I mean, it's produced in a studio with real instruments and editing. The amount of effort that goes into putting these sounds together is incredible. You should go and Google these sounds. And there's a particular story called Interstellar Maestro brings space age soundtrack to the BMW i4M and iX all electric models, and you can go and watch a video there that gives you a little bit of a sense of what goes into making these cars sounds.
That's so amazing. It's like the sound that your computer makes when you turn it on, or your Apple. And
you mean those noises,
or that boom.
Oh, right.
Now that sound is actually a combination of about 3 different tones, and it was put together by a man who I watched this video about. And at the time, he just did it as part of his daily job. They said, make a sound for when the computer comes on. And so he did. And now he's lost out on like millions because he never, laid claim to the sound.
Listen, George, I know that we asked you to do some research on the best zombie apocalypse car, but we don't have time today. Can we look at that next week?
We can definitely, Gareth, and I was going to mention at the end of the show, I have something very special for next week's show. So stay tuned, which will include the zombie apocalypse story.
Okay, brilliant.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Is it a car? Is it a truck? Is it
second
hand? Is it a double cab?
Sia needs to get out of Dundee. It's addling his brain. It's not a good place to be.
Okay, goodbye.
All right, everybody. Have a happy weekend, and we will see you